welcome to another episode of the Chaos Chronicles.
Navigating the randomness.
I'm Jess.
I'm Connie.
And today we are hopping in for our last new moon book reaction video.
Thank God.
We finally got there, guys.
It was rough. It was harder for Jess, but it was rough. If you want to have a summary, honestly, so much has happened at this point. Go back and watch the other videos.
Mm-hmm.
There's way too much.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're doing that, you should also check out the rest of our social medias. They are linked below. We would always appreciate a like, subscribe, and follow. And if you have any ideas for books we should read next, or even just ideas for our Who Knows What Wednesday, we have an email listed in the description. We would highly appreciate that you either leave it in a comment or send it to us as an email.
Yes. Yeah. Feel free to email us. We will also take pet pictures if you want to send us your pet pictures. We would love to see your fur babies.
We love the fur babies. Even the hairless ones, like the cats. Is there a hairless dog?
Probably. Not that come to my mind right now, but probably.
There's something somewhere everywhere. There's naked mole rats, so.
Yeah. All right. On that note, we're going to be covering chapters 23, 24, and Epilogue.
And we're going fast.
We're going fast. These are the final ones, guys. Home stretch. All right, so chapter 23 is The Truth. Bella wakes up disoriented, unsure if she's dead, dreaming, or hallucinating. She's convinced that she must be dead because she can't seem to wake up. Edward reassures her that she's awake, but Bella sarcastically responds, saying that's just what he wants her to think. So, like, even if I was alive, you would say that. If I was dead, you would say that. So, yeah. She believes that it would be even worse when she does wake up, if she ever does. And she's worried about Charlie, Renee, and Jacob because they'll be mourning her. She's like straight up convinced she's dead right now.
I mean, understandable given everything that's happened. And also she's been seeing a both visual and auditory hallucination of Edward for months. So
fair.
That's fair.
That's fair.
Yeah, we'll give her grace on this. Nothing else.
Edward gives a small smile and jokes, quote, "I can see where the confusion could come in, but I can't imagine what you could have done to wind up in hell. Did you commit many murders while I was away?" End quote. It was so bizarre, I couldn't help but put it in. Continue?
Oh, there's a lot to unpack there, but I don't have the degree to do it.
No, neither do I. Bella asks if everything really happened. Edward explains that she's been asleep for about 14 hours. Charlie is also currently asleep. He adds, quote, "You should probably know that I'm breaking the rules right now." Well, not technically, since Charlie said I was never to walk through this door again, and I came in through the window. But still, the intent was clear. End quote.
I can see both you and I saying that.
Yeah. You gotta clarify.
You do. Oh my God, when we set rules for our kids in the future, it is going to be laid out just like that. No loopholes.
Yep, nope. And then we'll give it to each other to be like, what loopholes did I not catch?
We're going to proofread the rules.
Check this for me. Thank you.
Which is, given the nature of our children, especially the nature of our husbands.
Ooh.
Oh God.
Oh.
We're in for it.
We are.
Group parent.
I was a goody two-shoes growing up. My husband was not.
Same. I was a goody two-shoes, but I'm enough of a shit, as evidenced by this podcast, see any episode, that like, what if my kid gets that and that weighs out because my husband's genetics like tip it over the edge?
Ooh. We're going to be in for a treat.
We're going to be in for a treat, and I'm not sure which one of our kids will be the ringleader or if they'll take turns, but either way, I have a feeling that we will have gray hair by the time they're 10 years old.
Probably easily.
Easily.
Whew. All right. Well, Bella is still in disbelief and asks what story she needs to tell Charlie, wondering how she'll explain why she disappeared. Edward informs her that she was gone for 3 days and admits that he doesn't have an explanation. Bella groans and Edward suggests that Alice might be able to come up with something. Shifting the conversation, Bella asks what Edward has been doing before the past 3 days. Edward tries to downplay it, saying nothing exciting, but Bella, still unsure if he is real, comments that if he were a dream, that's exactly what he would say because her imagination is spent.
She's making some valid points, and also I feel like the answer is Edward was a mopey emo boy.
Yeah, pretty much. Edward then confesses that he had been hunting, more specifically tracking, though he wasn't very good at it. Bella doesn't understand, so Edward takes a deep breath and apologizes. He tells her that he had no idea leaving would cause such chaos, and that he thought that things were safe. He hadn't expected Victoria to return. He continues, expressing how sick he feels for having put her life in danger by leaving her in the care of, quote, werewolves, immature and volatile, the worst things out there besides Victoria, end quote. But Bella cuts him off, telling him that he can't blame himself for everything that happens to her, and not even if she had jumped off the cliff and died.
That's what she's interrupting on? Not defending the werewolves that have been keeping her ungrateful.
I know, she does not defend them. And I'm like, are you serious? They did so much for you.
So much. Why do I feel like the pattern has been Bella's just not grateful?
Because that's been the pattern.
I mean, even in Twilight, I remember so many. No, I'm thinking of the Jasmine Richardson thing. That's where I was like, this child is ungrateful. Because she was. And if you would like something a lot more dark and messed up than Twilight, our 4-part episode of Jasmine Richardson and Jeremy Stanky, which, what was that?
Something about teen angst in the suburbs or something.
Yeah, murder and teen angst.
Oh gosh. Yeah, you can go check that out, but yeah, well, there's trigger warnings, you're good.
Yeah.
Wow, that was a rough case. Anyways, back to New Moon.
Back to a rough book.
It wasn't his fault, and he can't go running off to Italy every time he feels guilty. She urges him to think of Carlisle and Esme. Bella takes a deep breath to calm him down. Edward whispers her full name, and he tells her he didn't ask the Vulturi to kill him because he felt guilty. He did it because he thought she was dead. Quote, obviously I should have been more careful. I should have spoken to Alice directly rather than accepting it secondhand from Rosalie. But really, what was I supposed to think when the boy said Charlie was at the funeral? What are the odds? End quote.
Yeah, but like, still do due diligence, you know? Well, I get, okay, maybe, fine, whatever.
Also, that boy. Choice of words is all I'm pointing out.
I am circling back to the fact that Edward repeatedly refers to the people at or around Bella's age as girl, boy, or like children.
Mm-hmm. But not Bella.
But,
I know, it's not a good feeling.
No, if I heard that today of like a grown adult or
grooming,
that would totally be grooming.
Yeah.
Which actually, we've all probably heard that from the 23, it's usually like 21 to 27-year-old guy with the 17, 18, 19-year-old girl. Oh, you're just so much more mature. Everyone else is such children. And the reason they say that is because they are losers and women their age have rejected them.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. But Bella points out that this is exactly her point. So what if she had died? She remembers everything he told her. Edward admits that he's a good liar, but it was excruciating when she believed him so quickly. He thought she would fight harder against the lie. Bella starts crying, convinced she must be dreaming now. Edward laughs once and tells her she's impossible. He reassures her that she's not dead or dreaming and that he is really there. He tells her he has always loved her and never stopped thinking about her. Bella explains that she believed his lie because it never made sense to her that he loved her in the first place.
That's some things Bella needs therapy for. Oh my God, this entire plot could have been avoided if Bella had been in therapy. She would have gone for Jacob. Therapy at a young age, and her mother wasn't who her mother was.
A lot of things would have had to happen, but yeah.
Yeah. But
also, remember, teenager though. A lot of teenagers are very insecure. Not me diagnosing, not blah, blah, blah.
No.
Me as a teenager, very insecure. A lot of my friends, teenagers, very insecure.
Same. It's just, you're awkward because, like, you kind of look like an adult, but you kind of don't, and you're halfway in between adult and child mindset. So it's awkward. Of course you're going to be insecure. So, okay, that part's making sense. But again, now I'm just back to the whole, it's weird that Edward's still like, I love this hormonal mess. And it's one thing, like, when that hormonal mess is like a 20-something-year-old or 30-something-year-old, like, pregnant woman, like, then you can say, I love my hormonal mess. But he's over 100 years old, and he's
grooming her.
17. If I was over 100 years old, you would not find me with a 17-year-old. You wouldn't find me with a 17-year-old today, or 18 or 19. I honestly, I can't go a year younger than me. My husband is at the bottom level of that. I can't go younger than him.
Can't even go to our age.
Yeah, I really thought that we would have switched and I would have ended up with the older one, but here we are.
Edward promises to prove that she's awake. He grabs her face, ready to kiss her, but Bella stops him, pleading him not to, because when he leaves again, it will hurt even more. Edward pulls back slightly and asks her not to spare his feelings. He needs to know if she can still love him after everything he's done. Bella assures him that she does. He kisses her and then tells her he's not leaving again. He only left to give her a chance at a normal, happy life. Bella warns him to not make promises he may not keep. She reminds him that it might seem fine now, but what about next month when Jasper snaps again? Edward flinches at the reminder, but tells her that he's not as strong as she thinks. He admits that it was only a matter of time before he showed up, begging for her forgiveness. Quote,
"Oh no. Oh no.
I can't say this without laughing." Okay. Quote, "I'd be happy to beg you now if you'd like," he says.
Jess, we've read too many of the wrong type of books.
It doesn't help that I'm currently reading The Dark Olympus.
No, it does not. Oh, dear. Oh, no.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that quote's over. We're safe now. For now.
I was honestly waiting for you to follow it up with, and he touched her face, and she smelled his breath or something. What is with them and breath? Does Dark Olympus have anything with breath like that?
No.
Okay, then it's safe. I'll take it.
Mm-hmm. You'll like it, actually.
Oh.
It's on the list, guys. It's on the list. I promise. Obviously, we're not summarizing smut for you, so yeah.
Experience that on your own.
Yep. And then come back and we'll talk about all the plot.
Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, it's not that type of channel.
No, it's not.
It could be, but you'd have to pay
a lot. To continue, he explains that before Bella, his life was like a moonless night, dark but with stars giving him a sense of purpose. Then she came into his life like a meteor, igniting everything. When she left, it went to black again, and even though nothing had changed, he couldn't see the stars anymore. He lost his reason for living. Bella tells him his eyes will adjust, but Edward assures her they won't.
See, where's this snarkiness? We didn't get this in the movie.
I know, and this is why I don't want to watch the movie. I didn't want to watch Twilight. It was awful. I don't want to watch New Moon, and it's probably going to be awful.
Yeah, but we're going to have drinks to help with that.
We are.
I don't know how much it can help, though.
we'll be laughing a lot more.
We will be
Instead
laughing
of
a lot more.
cringing, we're gonna be laughing.
We're gonna be laughing. We're gonna be laughing.
Oh yeah. But Edward assures her that they won't. He says the distractions he used while away were a part of the lie. It was just agony. Bella admits that when he left, parts of her were missing too, and she hasn't been able to truly breathe since. She asks why tracking Victoria didn't serve as a distraction for him. Edward tells her that he was hunting Victoria but not successfully. He promises that he'll do better this time and she won't be a problem for much longer. Bella objects, worrying about the danger Edward faces. Edward assures her that he will keep his promise to stay, but Victoria will be dealt with soon. Bella shifts the conversation to the Vulturi, but Edward doesn't seem too concerned. He tells her that they have plenty of time before the Vulturi come for her, likely not until she's 30. This horrifies Bella, realizing that he plans to stay with her while letting her grow old.
Bitch, 30 ain't that old. Sorry.
It's not.
No, I know it sounds old at 17, but as a couple of folks here who are closer to 30 than 20, it's not that old.
No, it's not.
No.
My husband's 30.
That still throws me off.
I know.
No, he doesn't seem 30. He does and he doesn't. Like, in both good ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But 30 is not old.
No. But it's old if you're with a 17-year-old. But he's not really a 17-year-old.
No, I'm just not even gonna acknowledge that, because Edward explains that he can't be without her, but also refuses to destroy her soul. Bella protests, asking what if she ages to the point where people will think that she's his grandmother. He tells her that it wouldn't matter to him and that she'll always be the most beautiful person to him. He adds that he'd understand if she outgrew him. Bella, still upset, asks about the Vulturi's demand that she can't stay human forever. Edward acknowledges that they won't forget, but he has some plans, all centered around keeping her human. Bella takes a deep breath and sits up. When Edward asks if he should leave, she says no, but she's going to his house. Edward helps her get her shoes and asks how she plans to get there. Bella says that she'll take her truck, even if it wakes up Charlie, because she's already grounded. How much worse could it actually get? Edward says none because he would just blame Edward. Bella heads to the front door, but Edward blocks her way. She then turns to the window, and with a sigh, Edward agrees to give her a ride. As they prepare to leave, Bella tells him this isn't just about him anymore. If he's going to risk bringing the Vulturi down on them by leaving her human, then this family should have a say. Edward, confused, asks what she means, and Bella responds, quote, my mortality, and putting it to a vote. End quote, end of chapter 23.
That is actually the most, mature thing that she has thought out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it does make sense. It's not just her and Edward. It's all of them.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because the Vulturi is not just going to leave the rest of the crew.
No. There's no way.
No. So Edward's the one being selfish and dumb here.
Yes.
Which arguably you could say that so far that has been all of his everything has been selfish and dumb. Tell me I'm wrong. You can't.
You're not.
See? Ruby agrees. You can't see her, but just assume she's agreeing.
Mm-hmm. Edward wasn't pleased, but took Bella in his arms. Oh, why am I starting to talk? Anything else on chapter 20?
I didn't even catch that. I was just like, yeah, let's keep going.
Anything else on chapter 23 before we jump into 24?
No, let's go. Last chapter,
Okay.
Right?
And then we have the epilogue.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll take it.
Mm-hmm. So, chapter 24, vote. Edward wasn't pleased, but took Bella in his arms, got them out the window, put her on his back, and ran to his house. The speed was better than the motorcycle. She kissed him on the neck. He thanked her, then asked if this meant that she decided that she was finally awake and not dreaming. She replies, quote, Not really, but I'm not trying to wake up. Not tonight. End quote. Edward slowed down as they neared the house and reached around to pull her from his back. He asked her what her greatest problem was, but she never said. Bella told him to guess, and he nodded, saying he was worse than the Vulturi. He'd earned it. Bella rolled her eyes and said the worst they could do was kill her. Her worst fear was that he might leave her. The rest was nothing compared to that. Bella told him to Bella told him not to be sad. Edward said if only there were a way to convince her that he wouldn't leave. He supposed that with time he would. Bella then asked for her stuff back. Edward told her that her things were never actually gone. He knew it was wrong and childish, so everything was still there but under her floorboards.
Creepy as hell, but okay.
Like she's gonna look.
No, but that would have been real funny if her hallucination like told her that. So then she's having a whole Edgar Allan Poe, quote the Raven, heartbeat under the floorboards type of deal.
Oh gosh.
Hey, I gotta find something fun in this because it's just so much angst and Edward has just pissed me off so much, and so is Bella. Honestly, Jacob, I've been a little disappointed here and there, but like otherwise he's doing great. Charlie, we love Charlie.
Love Charlie. Bella slowly said she maybe knew the whole time that he cared for her, and that's probably why she heard the voices. Edward asks about the voices after a long pause, and she explains that it was just his voice, but it was a long story, and Edward assures her that he has plenty of time.
Okay, so like I'm not bashing anyone that seeks help, but like you could not get me to admit that I was hearing Johnny's voice in any situation. Like if it were this, like I wouldn't.
Maybe if they died.
Died, yes, but left?
No.
No.
Yeah, maybe if they died. If they just left, no.
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 Like this is an extreme. Does Stephanie Meyer realize just like how extreme of a psychosis Bella has right now?
Probably not.
Yeah, she was just like throwing it in there and like treating it like normal. Like, oh yeah, you should have this happen to you when your boyfriend's significant other leaves you. You shouldn't. At all.
No, and if it is, then seek a therapist.
Seek therapist. Not saying that with judgment. Like genuinely. Seek help.
Yeah. So Bella mentioned Alice's prediction about her taking up extreme sports. First motorcycles, then cliff diving. She found that doing something dangerous or stupid made her remember him more clearly. She could hear his angry voice. She tried not to think about him, but it didn't hurt. It was like he was there with her. Maybe she could hear him because she knew he didn't stop loving her. His words came out half strangled. Quote, you ... were ... risking your life ... to here ... end quote. Bella interrupted him, saying she was having an epiphany. Initially, she thought for two reasons: insanity or wish fulfillment. The third reason was that Edward loved her, and that's what she was trying to tell herself. Bella exclaimed, quote, you love me, end quote. She just whoop, whoop,
I was
whoop,
about
whoop,
to say,
whoop.
like, that is some Olympic, like Cirque du Soleil backbending there. Okay, like that was some gymnastics to get to that conclusion there.
Yeah.
Oh, Eddie boy, do you realize the psychosis you have given this girl and the psycho that she is?
This is bad.
This is bad. He's actually having an understandable response thus far.
So far, yeah. I can't remember what the rest of it is.
I can't either, but I have a feeling it'll
see.
change. Why do I feel like he'll be like, oh, me too, or like, oh, it's a sign of our love.
His eyes were still anxious, but he smiled and said he truly did. Edward told her she was better at surviving than he was. She at least made an effort. When he wasn't tracking, he was useless and couldn't be around anyone. Quote, "It was much more pathetic than hearing voices. And of course, I do that too." End quote. He hears voices.
Eddie boy, a joke maybe doesn't work here, but okay. You're just going to glaze over everything she just, okay.
Bella was relieved and corrected him. She only heard one voice. Edward told her he was just humoring her and motioned for her to go inside.
Oh, good. They were talking about this, so the rest of the Cullens probably heard all that.
Probably.
Oh, Belle, sweetie, honey, no.
So he called out everyone's names in a normal voice. Carlisle suddenly appeared and welcomes her, asking what they could do for her. Bella said she would like to talk to everyone at once if that was okay, because it's important. Carlisle agreed and led her into the large living room. Bella sat between Carlisle and Edward. Alice was grinning at Bella. She already knew the whole plot. Emmett and Jasper were curious, and Rosalie was smiling tentatively. Carlisle told her that the floor was hers. Bella started by asking if Alice filled everyone in on what happened in Vulturi. Alice confirms that she had, including everything that happened on the way. Bella continued, saying that Alice promised the Vulturi that she would become one of them, and they would send someone to check. Unfortunately, this involved everyone, and Bella apologizes for that. She paused and continued that if they didn't want her, she wouldn't force herself on them, and if Alice was willing to, and asked if Alice was willing to.
Oh, like willing to change.
Even if she was willing to change Bella.
Yeah.
Because Edward's not. Esme opened her mouth to speak, but Bella held a finger up to stop her. She asked if she could finish. They all knew what she wanted and what Edward thought. Since it involved everyone, she believed that it was only fair to put it to a vote. If they didn't want her, she would go back to Italy alone. She couldn't have them coming here. So she would not be putting any of them in danger either way. Bella gestures towards Carlisle to begin, but Edward interrupted. He didn't think that they needed to be overly anxious about the danger. There was more than one reason why Edward didn't shake Aro's hand at the end. The Vulturi were overconfident. When they decide to find someone, it wasn't really a problem.
So I think what I'm getting from that is Edward's like, I already have like plans for how to circumvent this, and that's why I didn't shake Aro's hand.
Yeah. I know, I'm just like, why did I word the way I worded it is so...
I'm sure the book worded it that way, because let's be honest, this is not the first time the book has worded
something weird.
Worded weird something, yes.
Yeah. So okay. So essentially Edward didn't shake Aro's hand because he already had a plan for when they start looking for Bella, essentially. So Dimitri was a tracker, which we talked about Dimitri already. He was a tracker like James, and Aro was kind of like what Edward did. He didn't think that Aro would be able to find Bella since her powers block powers.
Yeah, but there's still the people Bella cares about, and which he knows about because he touched Edward, and Edward knows about. Like, this isn't even a half-baked plan. This is like quarter-baked plan.
This is the rest of the plan. Whenever they planned a visit, Alice would see it, and Edward would hide Bella so they wouldn't be able to find her.
This is the Pittsburgh blue of plans. For those who don't know what that is, it's basically you char the outside of the burger and then it's still mooing on the inside. I've seen people eat that and that way. That was gross. Anyway, point is, bad plan.
So Emmett and Edward exchange smirks. Bella points out that they could track him, but Edward assures her that he could take care of himself. Emmett.
No, my face isn't for that. My face is for Edward. Like, really? Who just said he was barely taking care of himself? And who got his butt handed to him by Jane? Yeah, okay.
Emmett laughed and extended a fist to Edward, saying, "Excellent." Rosalie hisses no. Bella says, "Absolutely not." Jasper was impressed with the boys, and Alice mutters, "Idiots."
I'm with Alice on this one.
Yep. So Bella suggests that they vote on whether they want her to join their family or not. Alice, yes. Jasper, yes. Rosalie, no. Rosalie wants to explain this, though. She has no aversion toward Bella as a sister, but it wasn't the life that she would have chosen for herself and wished that someone would have voted no for her. Emmett was a hell yes. Quote, we can find some other way to pick a fight with this Dimitri. End quote. Esme says yes because she already saw Bella as being part of the family. Bella was nervous now and wished that she had started with Carlisle. He wasn't looking at her. Carlisle tried to reason with Edward, saying that it was the only thing that made sense. Edward had chosen to not live without her, and now he didn't have a choice. There was a crash from another room. Bella flinched and said thanks. That's all she needed, and thanked them for wanting to keep her.
What was the crash? Do we know?
Edward.
Oh, like Edward and Carlisle went to another room to have a conversation?
No, they were there. I think that Edward like ran out and like hit something or something.
Sorry.
It was something like that. Like he either ran into the other room and hit something or threw something or something. Like he
Had a moment.
He had a moment.
He had a moment.
And it's been too long since I've read this to know exactly what happened. So I just remember he did something that made it. And I was like, oh, little temper tantrum. Got it.
Yeah, you know. God damn it, Edward.
Yeah. So she felt the same about all of them. Esme was at her side in a flash and hugged her. When Esme released her, Bella asked Alice where she wanted to do this.
Oh, Jesus Christ and a half.
Alice's eyes widened in terror, and Edward charged back into the room yelling no, and asked Alice if she had lost her mind.
Okay, Bella's lost her mind. She's just like, yeah, let's just go ahead and do this right now. Bella is selfish. She has no regard for Charlie, for Jacob, for Ed. Like, literally, she is solely focused on Edward, and that's concerning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what about Jacob?
Well, like, Jacob, yes, but also, like, Charlie, your dad.
I know, your dad, but, like...
Jacob, too.
Well, it's more with, like, she can still talk to Charlie.
Yeah.
She can't still talk to Jacob if she turns into a vampire.
Yeah, they become mortal enemies, and she...
Yeah.
She is with love. No.
At this point, no.
No, she is stupid, okay? She is short-sighted, selfish, and stupid right now. She is the triple S. Ooh, I actually think that's a Nazi thing. Never mind.
I was about to say, there's something with triple S.
No, it's the SS, the Gestapo. So 3 S's is fine.
Okay.
So this being stupid saved her. You're not a Nazi, but almost.
Ooh. All right. Well, getting back here, Alice interjected that she didn't think that Bella was ready. She needed time to prepare and had no idea how to not kill her. Bella then turned to Carlisle. He told her that he was able to do it and she wouldn't be wouldn't be in any danger of losing control. Bella says that sounds good, and Edward says there's no reason to do it now. And he couldn't think of a few good reasons why it shouldn't be now. For starters, in about 2 hours, Charlie's going to wake up and be looking for her. And knowing him, it would most likely involve the police. Bella frowned. Charlie, Renee, and Jacob. This would be the hardest part. She would lose all of them. But she was hurting them more by staying human. Charlie was in constant danger by proximity, and Jake was in worse danger by protecting her from her enemies. Renee wouldn't even risk a visit to see her for fear her problems would follow her.
She wouldn't risk a visit.
She wouldn't risk it, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, damn.
Sorry. No, Bella wouldn't risk visiting her.
Yeah. Okay, now she's catching up. God damn it,
Bella. It takes her a minute. We should know this by now.
It does. Well, she did think she was dreaming up until very recently.
Yeah, that's fair.
Still not an excuse.
Yeah. So Edward suggests that they table this until she at least finished high school and moved out of Charlie's house. Carlisle pointed out that that was a reasonable request. Bella agreed to consider it. Edward relaxed and said he should take her home in case Charlie woke up early. Bella looked at Carlisle and he gave her his word after graduation. Bella took a deep breath and agreed to go home. Edward took her home and set her in bed. Bella told him whatever he was planning, it wouldn't work. Edward asked her if she could have anything in this world, what would it be? Something that she didn't already have. Bella said she would want him to change her, not Carlisle. Edward asked what she would be willing to do to trade for that, and Bella responded, anything. He asks for 5 years. Bella's expression turned to horror, and she reminded him that it was dangerous for her to be a human, so anything but that. He asked for 3 years, and Bella said no. They went back and forth for a while, and Bella said 19 was the longest she'd wait. She wouldn't go anywhere near 20. If he was staying in his teens forever, she would too. No. Maybe we shouldn't get into that. We're just going to continue.
We're going to go, but I think we're all thinking the same thing, which is, well, we don't have the red flag. Gigantic red flag.
Red flags are somewhere.
In this chapter. That's where they are.
Sorry, guys. Forgot the props. So Edward finally says, fine, forget the time limit. If she wanted him to turn her, she would have to marry him first.
You think that's an issue there, honey? Okay.
I have words, but I don't want to get into it because...
Wait, I thought he suggested... I'm going to keep my mouth shut. And I'll say it later. Keep going. Because I don't remember if it's part of this or the epilogue. I think it might be the epilogue. So
okay. Bella stared at him and asked what the punchline was. Edward sighed, quote, "You're wounding my ego, Bella. I just proposed to you and you think it's a joke." End quote.
Hell of a proposal, my dude.
Edward was serious. It was time he settled down. Bella told him marriage wasn't high on her list of priorities. It was the kiss of death for Renee and Charlie. I know. I just... Becoming a vampire? Marrying someone.
Yeah, how is it? I am committing to potentially, if Edward's right, throwing my soul away. That's fine. Marriage, say what now? Let's think about this. Let's be rational. Let's look long ways out.
Yeah. So Bella asks if they went to Vegas now, would she be a vampire in 3 days then? Edward smiled and said, sure, he'd get his car. Bella tried to negotiate the time again, saying 18 months, but Edward liked this condition better. Bella said that she'd have Carlisle do it when she graduated, and Bella called Edward Bella called him impossible and a monster.
Oh. Well.
Edward chuckled and asked if that's why she wouldn't marry him. Quote, he leaned toward me. His night dark eyes melted and smoldered and shattered my concentration. Please, Bella, he breathed.
What the hell with the breath? Why the breath?
End quote.
You had that in there just for that, didn't you?
Uh-huh.
Yep.
I have to at this point.
God, I'm becoming anti-breath. I am anti-breath. Everyone's just gonna die. Apparently,
I have a great idea now.
Oh,
hey,
no.
Johnny. I know exactly how you can spice things up. I'll tell you exactly what to do.
I'd punch him. I think my honest to God reaction would be, ugh. Oh no, it'd be like a reflex.
I'm not that mean, I would never, but like...
I'm just imagining if he tried it.
Hey, Connie.
I can handle moist, oozing. I think I could honestly handle bone coming out of skin
Better
than that, than someone doing that breath thing to me. Actually, I don't know which one's worse, breath thing or bone out of skin. I've only seen videos, but it's the sound on those that gets me. No, breath is still pretty bad. Yeah, those two might be tied. I think I might actually be okay with giving blood before I'd be okay with that. That says something, okay?
Okay, now I can tell Johnny how to win in a fight with you.
Oh, it's going to change into a different type of fight.
Okay. Well,
hypothetical. I don't beat my husband. Not that I could. He's got many a pounds on me, and he actually works out.
Don't mess with him.
No. Thankfully, he's chill. That's why I know that if a girl hits him, I have to be ready to swing because he's not going to hit a lady. But I'm like, I have no such reservations. Equal opportunity here.
So Bella suddenly forgets how to breathe, and her mind was cloudy. Edward asks if this would have gone better if he had time to go get a ring, and Bella shouted, quote, no rings. Edward whispers, quote, now you've done it. Charlie's awake. He should leave, end quote. He gauged Bella's expression and asked if it would be childish for him to hide in her closet. Bella whispers, no, please stay. Bella's door cracked open and she said, morning. Edward answered.
Charlie answered? Also, wait, hold on. You know what I'm just realizing?
Why did I put Edward in there? Sorry.
No, you're good. But like what I'm just realizing is like she woke up from a 14-hour sleep. She didn't brush her teeth or use the bathroom at any point during all that.
I'd be so uncomfortable.
I'd be so uncomfortable.
Like, heck, I can barely go. It's a rare night if I don't wake up to pee at least once.
You also drink more water than anyone I know.
I know, I do. I drink too much water, to be honest. Most days.
Yeah, I should be drinking more water, but I'm just imagining, like, even so, it's the morning breath that gets me. Like, I do not open my mouth to speak until I have brushed my teeth. Mm-hmm. Like, that's very much, Okay, Stephanie. Unrealistic. Well,
very unrealistic. It's a book. It's a story.
It's something, all right.
Okay, so Bella's door cracked open and she said, morning. Charlie answered, sounding embarrassed. Quote, oh, hey, Bella, I didn't know you were awake, end quote. Bella told him that she'd be waiting for him to wake up so she could take a shower. Charlie flipped on the light and said, quote, let's talk for a minute. You know you're in trouble. I went crazy the last 3 days. I came home from Harry's funeral and you were gone. All Jacob could tell me was that you ran off with Alice and you were in trouble. You didn't leave a number to call or contact me. I didn't know if or when you were coming back. Why shouldn't I ship you off to Jacksonville? End quote.
All very valid.
Very valid.
He's actually handling this quite well.
Mm-hmm. Quite well, honestly.
Way better than I would have.
Same. Bella responded she wouldn't go. She accepted responsibility for her actions, and he had the right to ground her for as long as he wanted. She would do chores until he thought she'd learned her lesson. If he wanted to kick her out too, that was within his rights, but it wouldn't make her go to Florida. Charlie's face turned red, and he asked if she wanted to tell him where she's been. Bella just said that there was an emergency. It was mostly a misunderstanding that got out of hand. Alice told Rosalie about Bella jumping off the cliff. Oh, wait, Charlie didn't know about that one.
I was going to say, I don't think he knew that.
Bella quickly told him it was nothing, just messing around and swimming with Jake. But Rosalie told Edward and accidentally made it sound like Bella was trying to kill herself or something. Charlie wouldn't answer his phone, so... Why am I doing this? I'm mixing up Edward and Charlie. What is happening with my note?
Well, at least Bella's not, because that'd be major daddy issues.
Edward wouldn't answer his phone, so Alice brought Bella back to LA to explain in person. Charlie's face was frozen, and he asked if she was trying to kill herself. Bella assured him that she was not. She was just having fun with Jake, and all the push kids do it. It's nothing. Charlie asked what was it to Edward anyways. Bella said that it was another misunderstanding. She didn't know the plan, but thought they were all back. Charlie told her, quote, "I want you to stay away from him, Bella. I don't trust him. He's rotten for you. I won't let him mess you up like that again," end quote. Very valid, Charlie.
Incredibly.
Bella said fine, and Charlie was surprised. Bella clarified, fine, she'd move out. She didn't want to move out, and she loved Charlie. She understood that he was worried about her, but she had to trust him. He also had to ease up on Edward if she stays. Did he want her to live there or not? Charlie said that wasn't fair. Of course, he wants her to stay. Bella confidently said that he needed to be nice to Edward because he would be where she was. Charlie stormed, quote, "Not under my roof," end quote. Bella sighed and said that she wouldn't give him more ultimatums today, but asked him to take a few days to think about it. Just know that she and Edward were a package deal. Also, if she needed more privacy and really needed a shower. Charlie's face went purple, and he left, slamming the door behind him and stomping down the stairs. Bella threw her quilt off, and Edward was sitting in the rocking chair instantly. Bella apologized to him, and Edward muttered that he deserved far worse.
Yes.
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did.
So she shouldn't start anything with Charlie over him. Agreed. Bella told him not to worry. She'd do only what was necessary. Or was Edward saying that she would have nowhere to go? Edward asked if she would move into a house of vampires. Bella grinned, saying that it was the safest place for someone like her. Besides, if Charlie kicked her out, there was no need for the graduation deadline. Quote, his jaw tightened. So eager for eternal damnation, he muttered. End quote. Bella said he didn't really believe that. If he did, when she found him, he would have immediately realized what was happening, but instead he thought that they were both dead, and Edward was speechless. Bella told him that they should both be hopeful, but it didn't matter because if he stayed, she didn't need heaven. Quote, he got up slowly and came to put his hands on either side of my face as he stared into my eyes. Forever, he vowed, still a little staggered. That's all I'm asking for, I said, and stretched up on my toes to press my lips to his. End quote. End of chapter 24.
So now we're in the epilogue?
Epilogue.
Also, really, you want to live with a bunch of vampires who can hear every stomach grumble, and which I'm sorry if you can hear mine. I haven't really eaten today. Or the gas, anything, all the embarrassing human things, and you want no.
Bella's not thinking about that.
Bella's not thinking. That sentence. There you go. Summary of the series. Bella's not thinking.
Yay! I don't have to read the next 2 books.
Yeah. We committed.
Yeah.
Not the worst thing we've committed to, but not the best. Not the worst.
The next series will be better.
Oh, God, yes. We deserve a reward
better.
for a good series.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But in that note, almost done. Epilogue. Almost there.
Epilogue. We're going. All right, so the epilogue is treaty. So almost everything was back to normal, or the pre-zombie normal. Carlisle had returned to work at the hospital. Oh no.
Alice?
Edward and Alice.
LS? I'd take it. Just summarize all the words into one, and there we go. Done with epilogue.
And the end. Edward and Alice were in better shape to graduate than Bella, and suddenly college was a priority again. Many of the deadlines had passed, but Edward brought Bella new applications to fill out every day. Charlie wasn't happy with Bella and wasn't speaking to Edward, but Edward was allowed in the house during designated visiting hours. Bella was not allowed to leave except for school and work, and Edward resumed his old schedule. Bella wasn't able to go to La Push, and Jacob wasn't coming to see her, and he wouldn't even answer her phone calls. Bella mostly tried to call later at night after Edward was kicked out. Edward would sneak back in after Charlie fell asleep, and Bella decided on this timing because every time she mentioned Jacob, Edward became disapproving, weary, and maybe even angry. Bella assumed that it was some sort of reciprocal prejudice against werewolves and wasn't as vocal as Jacob was about the bloodsuckers, so she stopped mentioning him. When Bella was around Edward, it was hard to think about things that weren't happy, and even her former best friend. She felt guilty for not thinking of him more often and wondered where his happy ever after was. Weeks passed and she still didn't hear back from Jacob. One day, Bella even vented to Edward, saying that it was just rude and insulting.
She has no moral ground to stand on there, but okay. Okay.
Not even a little bit, no. Bella varied when she would call and where she would call from, but she only got unhelpful responses from Billy. Billy told her that Jacob didn't want to talk to her and that he was there but wouldn't walk to the phone. Edward quietly told Bella it wasn't her fault. No one hated her. Jacob knew that they were back and had figured out that Edward was with her. He wouldn't come anywhere near her. Near him.
Near him. Yeah. No, I'm
With
shaking my
her.
head at like, no, Bella, like there's some hatred there.
Yeah. Bella told Edward that it was stupid. Jacob knew that he wasn't like the others. Edward said that there was still a reason to keep a safe distance. They were what they were. He could control himself, but doubted that Jacob could. Jacob was young, and it would probably turn into a fight. Edward doesn't know if he could stop it before he hurt him. Bella would be unhappy, and he doesn't want to do that to her. Bella remembered what Jacob had told her in the kitchen, quote, "I'm not sure that I'm even tempered enough to handle that. You probably wouldn't like it so much if I killed your friend." Bella whispered, quote, "Edward Cullen, were you about to say kill him?" End quote. Edward looked away from Bella and told her that he would try very hard to not do that.
No, I'm sorry. You don't say, I'm going to try not to. It's do or do not. Killing is not just like, oh, I'm going to try not to have a cookie before dinner.
That's how he's treating it.
Yeah, that's not the same. Not the same.
Bella took a deep breath and told him nothing like that would ever happen, so there's no reason to worry about it. Edward was driving Bella home and told her he needed to get her home before she got into more trouble. Edward's face was statue still, and he whispered that he was in more trouble. Bella followed his gaze, not knowing what to expect. She asked what it was. Edward said, quote, "Charlie is probably not going to kill you, but he's thinking about it." Quote. Bella asked what she did. Edward glances back at Charlie's house, and this time Bella saw the motorcycle in the driveway. There was only one person who could have been behind this, but why would Jacob do this? She trusted him with every secret that she had. He was the only person she could rely on. Her eyes were filled with tears of fury. She felt betrayed. Bella asked if Jacob was still there, and Edward said yes, he's waiting. Bella jumps out of the car and launches herself toward the trees with her hands formed into fists, ready to punch. Edward caught her before she made it. Bella shouted, and Edward warned her that Charlie would hear her. Quote, "Just give me one round with Jacob, then I'll deal with Charlie." End quote.
I mean, when you're feeling betrayed and pissed off enough, I get it.
Yeah, but also, like, she kind of more than deserves it.
Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's not cool to betray a secret like that to another friend's parents. Like,
no,
like that's a little skeevy, but also I get where Jacob's coming from.
Yeah.
No one's really in the right here. No. Except Charlie. Charlie's rightfully mad.
Edward told her that Jacob wanted to see him, and that is why he was still there. But don't worry, he wasn't here to fight. Jacob was acting as a spokesperson for the pack. Edward says that they should hurry because Charlie was becoming impatient. They didn't go far before they saw him. Jacob looked bigger somehow. He would tower over Edward if they stood next to each other. Edward stopped once they saw Jacob and shifted his body so Bella was behind him. Bella expected a resentful, cynical expression, but there were tears in his eyes. Jacob greeted Bella and didn't look away from Edward. Bella asked why and how he could do this to her. Jacob told her that it was for the best. Bella asked how if he wanted Charlie to strangle her or give him a heart attack. How could he do this to her no matter how mad he was at her? Edward muttered that he didn't want to hurt anyone, but wanted to get her grounded so she wouldn't be allowed to spend time with Edward.
Edward muttered that or Jacob muttered that?
Edward muttered that.
Oh, Edward read Jacob's mind.
Yeah.
Oh.
Jacob's eyes filled with hate. And Bella groaned and told Jacob that she was already grounded. Why else would she not go to La Push to kick his butt for not taking her phone calls? Jacob was confused and asked if that was why. Edward told her that Jacob thought that he wouldn't let her go. Edward wouldn't let her go, not Charlie. Jacob snapped at Edward to stop and then continued that Bella wasn't exaggerating about his abilities, so he needed to know why he was here. Edward agrees and said before he started, he needs to say something. Jacob waited. Edward thanked him and told him that he would never be able to tell him how grateful he was and would owe him for the rest of his existence. Jacob gave him a blank stare and looked at Bella for guidance, but she was just as mystified. Edward clarified that he was grateful for keeping Bella alive. Jacob understood and said he didn't do it for Edward's benefit. Edward acknowledged that, but said that it didn't change the gratitude he felt and thought Jacob should know that if there was anything in his power that he could do for him. Jacob raised an eyebrow. Edward shook his head. That wasn't in his power.
We can all guess, yes.
Read between the lines there, guys. Jacob then asked whose it was, and Edward looked at Bella and said it was hers. He would be there until Bella ordered him away. And Bella whispers never. And Jacob made a gagging sound, which, yes.
Yeah. We're with Jacob on that one.
That's been needed for a long time.
Right? Oh my God.
Bella asked if there was something else Jacob needed. Jacob kept his eye on Edward and said, quote, I just need to remind your blood-sucking friends of a few key points of the treaty they agreed to. The treaty is the only thing stopping me from ripping his throat out right this minute, end quote. Edward assured him that they hadn't forgotten, and Bella asked for the key points. Jacob answered, quote, the treaty is quite specific. If any of them bite a human, the truce is over. Bite, not kill, he emphasized. Finally, he looked at her with cold eyes. Bella told him it was none of his business, and Jacob choked out, the hell it is. Nearly going into convulsions, he must have thought this would be a precaution and didn't realize or didn't want to believe that she had made her choice. Bella asked if he was okay and took a step toward him. Edward yanked her back and told her to be careful. He wasn't in control. Jacob calmed down to just shaking arms and scowled at Edward, telling him that he would never hurt her. Both Edward and Bella caught the accusation in those words, and suddenly Charlie roared from the house, telling Bella to get inside immediately. Everyone froze, and Jacob muttered that he was really sorry. He had to try. Bella said thanks. Edward quickly added one more thing. They hadn't found a trace of Victoria on their side. He asked if Jacob had found anything. Jacob said the last time was when Bella was away. They had let her think that she was slipping in, and they were ready to ambush her, but she took off. She had caught the little female scent and hadn't been on their land since. Edward nodded and told Jacob that when she came back, she wouldn't be his problem anymore. Jacob hissed that she killed on their turf, so she was theirs. Bella began to protest, but Charlie chimed in again, saying that he saw Edward's car and knew that she was out there. Edward told her to leave, but she turned back to Jacob. She didn't know if she would see him again. He whispered, quote, "Sorry, Bells." Desperately, Bella reminded him he promised. Still friends, right? Oh, I'm supposed to read. And I didn't bring my book. I have to go get it.
Oh no.
Jacob shook his head slowly, and the lump in my throat nearly strangled me. You know how hard I've tried to keep that promise, but I can't see how to keep trying. Not now. He struggled to keep his hard mask in place, but it wavered and then disappeared. Miss you, he mouthed. One of his hands reached towards me, his fingers outstretched like he'd wished that they were long enough to cross the distance between us. Me too, I choked out. My hand reached toward his across the wide space. Like we were connected, the echo of his pain twisted inside me. His pain, my pain. Jake, I took a step toward him. I wanted to wrap my arms around his waist and erase the expression of misery on his face. Edward pulled me back again, his arm restraining instead of defending. It's okay, I promised him, looking up to read his face with trust in my eyes. He would understand. His eyes were unreadable, his face expressionless, cold. No, it's not. Let her go, Jacob snarled, furious again. She wants to. He took 2 long strides forward. A glint of anticipation flashed in his eyes. His chest seemed to swell as it shuddered. Edward pushed me behind him, wheeling to face Jacob. No, Edward. Isabella Swan.
Oh, Charlie.
Come on, Charlie's mad. My voice was panicked, but not because of Charlie now. Hurry. It's Edward saying all that. I tugged on him and he relaxed a little. He pulled me back slowly, always keeping his eyes on Jacob as we retreated. Jacob watched us with a dark scowl on his bitter face. The anticipation drained from his eyes, and then, just before the forest came between us, his face suddenly crumpled in pain. I knew that last glimpse of his face would haunt me until I saw his smile again. And right there, I vowed that I would see him smile, and soon. I would find a way to keep my friend. Edward kept his arm tight around my waist, holding me close. That was the only thing that held the tears inside my eyes. I had some serious problems. My best friend counted me with his enemies. Victoria was still on the loose, putting everyone I loved in danger. And if I didn't become a vampire soon, the Vulturi would kill me. And now it seemed that if I did, the Quilliet werewolves would try to do the job themselves, along with trying to kill my future family. I didn't think that they had any chance, really, but would my best friend get himself killed in the attempt? Very serious problems. So why did they all suddenly seem insignificant when we broke through the last of the trees and I caught sight of the expression on Charlie's purple face? Edward squeezed me gently. I'm here. I drew in a deep breath. That was true. Edward was here with his arms around me. I could face anything as long as that was true. I squared my shoulders and walked forward to meet my fate with my destiny solidly at my side.
The eye roll is not for, it's for the words, the content, the
End of the book.
end of the book. How do we feel?
I mean, I can read you my notes at the end. I wrote notes when I actually finished the book. I said I really love Jacob, but Bella does not deserve him. Jacob deserves so much better. I don't like that Edward's back. I understand now what you meant at the very, very beginning of this whole series when you said that Jacob was just a distraction for Bella.
Good memory.
Yeah. Well, it's been
memory.
stuck in my mind because everyone's like, Team Edward, Team Jacob, meh. And then you're like, there was no team, because I'm like the same way with like Peeta and Gale for Hunger Games. I'm like, there was no, like, it was never one or the other. It was always one. Can I say I'm Team Edward? No, because I really don't like him.
Yeah, we all knew the answer to that one.
Yeah. Hopes and thoughts for the next book. I think that Jacob and Bella will make up. I think that either in the next book or the final book that the Cullens and werewolves will team together to defeat Victoria.
Interesting. I won't say anything. Except I gotta say it because it wasn't in there.
Yes.
Maybe it's in the next book. The whole marriage thing. I thought that was originally brought up because Bella wants to have sex, and Edward's like, no, because then you're going to hell if you do it outside of marriage.
Oh.
Maybe that's sorry. I've got either cat hair or my hair stuck under my glasses.
Probably
there we go.
both.
More than likely both. I just remember reading that and being like, really?
Well, it wasn't in this one, so maybe it's in the next one.
Maybe it is in the next one. You know, it definitely could be. But I just remember thinking like, this is really out of left field. Like even bringing up sex period. And I'm like, what? How would you? Okay.
I can't see these books getting there.
It gets there in the way. Well, Stephanie Meyer's Mormon. It gets there in a very Mormon way.
Well, I mean, some things that have been said already.
Questionable. Oh, got it. Yeah, I can't tell whose hair that was. It was one of the three of these.
Yeah. these. I'm including myself in these. I mean, I just posted today the short that was suckled when I accidentally did that. It wasn't even in there. That was just a me whoops. Like, it was supposed to be skulked. And I said suckled, and you're like 100% like believing me. You're like, what? Really?
Well, I didn't remember, but also I would have probably glossed over that as a kid because I would have been like, yeah, whatever. And now as an adult, I'd be like,
he what now?
What? Come again?
It's like so much of there's so much like sexual tension buildup that she does, and I'm like, this is to an odd degree, like especially with Jacob.
Yeah, especially because there's no like pushing further because every teenager or preteen, probably shouldn't be preteen, too young, but you know, stuff happens and shouldn't. But like, it's not that much tension for that long without someone trying to make a move of some sort. Like, it's weird. It's like, so you can tell that these teenagers are being written from a standpoint of someone who's got like a religious. Yeah, anyway, it just seems like not realistic writing, which we already talked about earlier with the whole like, oh, Bella, honey, by Jacob. Like, it's
Jacob is not, I'm saying, if Jacob was real, he would not be like, oh, Bella, honey, every 2 seconds.
No, you know who says honey? Me, because that's who I am. But like,
if you look at me and be like, oh, honey, I'll be like, bitch, you want to go?
Me. I save that for customer service moments. I save it for younger folks. I save it for animals. I save it for old folks.
Or if someone's being incredibly stupid.
So, you know, you got to filter it through with context with me. But like, no boys say that.
No,
unless they are flamboyantly gay. Fight me on that one. Tell me, show me a straight guy who's not saying honey to like his wife or his child. And even so, you're usually not choosing honey.
I feel like if Mitch called me honey, I would have questions, and I don't know how I would react.
Same. I think if I heard it, I'd be like, come again. That's not one of the pre-approved names on the list. Like, okay, choose one of them.
It could be if we talk about it, but we have to talk about it before that one just gets thrown into the mix.
Right? I would literally take almost any other name.
I think I would panic. Just pure panic. Be like, what happened? What did I do? Like, what?
Right. I'd be like, this is leading up to bad. Someone died. We're divorcing. Like, what's happening? If I heard that, I'd be like, something's wrong. Or Johnny's been possessed.
something's majorly wrong or husbands have been what? Possessed.
Dispossessed is the thing, but possessed. Maybe that's like the code word. Oh, hey, honey, you have a gun to your head. Got it.
Yeah, that would be a good code word.
Yeah.
Code word. Oh no.
The thing was, I heard you saying it, but I didn't know what it was either. That's why I was like, code word, coworker, no, code word. Okay, so that's the thing. If I call you and I'm like, hey, honey, just know I'm in trouble and I can't talk.
Oh, I got it. Oh gosh. All right. Well, any final thoughts on New Moon before the movie?
I'm already mentally preparing what we're going to need for drinks for it.
Yeah. All right. Well, next week for you guys will be the movie reaction to New Moon. Yeah.
It's going to be something.
It will be YouTube only. So sorry, Spotify listeners, you're going to have to go over to YouTube. But I think it'll be worth it. A lot of people enjoyed our Twilight reaction.
Yeah,
so.
that's kind of like, what, 200 views or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, and today we officially we officially hit 300 followers on YouTube.
Awesome. Nice. Nice. Whoop, 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 whoop. Awesome. Okay, that actually feels really amazing because we're still within our first year. So this feels pretty good to get that within 8 months of starting the channel.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for all of you who have subscribed. And the crazy thing is, only 95% of you all on YouTube who watch us are 95% of you are not subscribed. So you should subscribe.
You should subscribe. Please.
Only about 5% of you are subscribed. And thank you to the 5%.
Yes.
We love you.
Thank you to the 5%. We love you. If you would also like that love 95%, subscribe. Our love is conditional that way. At least I'm honest about it. Unlike Bella.
Oh, God.
Or Edward. Or literally all of them. All of them need therapy. Charlie needs therapy, but just because he's having to deal with all that, he has the emotional range of a tomato. But we like tomatoes.
I'm scared for this movie.
I am too, because I genuinely do not remember it. I remember like 3 scenes, and that's it.
I'm frightened.
I am too. This is gonna be a cringe fest.
All right. Well, we'll have the movie out, and then the week after that, we'll probably be back into whatever the next book is.
Yeah,
What's the third one? Eclipse?
Yep, I almost said epileptic.
Not quite.
Not quite. Epilepsy. No, eclipse.
Not quite. All right. Well, thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking it out for us rambling at the end here.
We appreciate it. This is our therapy after getting through the book.
Yeah, we needed it. Oh boy. Well, we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah. Like and subscribe. If you haven't heard it already, like and subscribe. Yeah. Adios.
Bye.
300. Damn. Nice.
I know.
Also, thank God that book is done. Thank God.
It was dragging on.
Oh, and we condensed that.
A lot.
A lot.